All right. Assalamualaikum. Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Artika. Welcome to Global Teacher Conversation session. This is session 7 for our community takeover and session 8 overall. So, a little bit of Zoom norms for every time we start a session. We hope that you can mute yourself when you're not speaking, but at any point of time, you feel you want to speak out, you want to ask questions, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask. Please do not shy away from unmuting yourself. We'd love to hear your point of view. We'd love to hear your stories, and we also love to get questions from you guys as well, and also responses. So maybe mute when other people are speaking, and then you can unmute when you want to speak. We hope that you will be present. We want to keep the experience of the conversation as genuine as possible. If we can mock the actual conversation that we have with other people face to face, then we hope that you can switch on your video whenever possible. If for at any instances where your line may be not working at your advantage, then that's okay. But if you can, please switch on your video so that other people can feel like, oh, I'm talking to an actual person. Okay? Then participate actively. Don't be shy, like I said. There's nothing wrong here. There's nothing right here. It's just a space for people to share stories. Before we start, I would like to bring you guys all into the GTC pillar principles. So GTC, from when we started in 2021, we have established these three pillar principles whenever we have sessions or activities. So the first one is being respectful. You know how we come from different background, different walk of life, and sometimes we are also in the different stages of our careers. Some people might already have advanced. Some people might have been teaching for quite
Uy, ter lagi. Terkena
so
lagi. Boleh lagi tuh. Boleh bantu.
some people have been teaching for so many years, and some people might have just started teaching. But that doesn't matter because here everyone is equal, right? So let's be mindful of how we speak, behave, and communicate with each other because nobody is higher than one another. We also want everybody, we hope everybody can be supportive as well because some people, for them, English is not an easy language for them. But some people, this is something that they have been using every day. So if you see that your speaking partner is struggling, then give space, give time, you know, and you can also support them. How you can support them? You can also be participative in the session. How you can be participative in the session? You show interest, you ask questions, and you also answer questions during the sessions. All right, let me walk you through our agenda for tonight. In a little bit, we will start our community takeover on psychology for educators by super skills for life. And then we will have our usual conversation. We will close with some announcement, photo time, and closing. Right? All right. Before we start with our community takeover, I want you to take some time here to type in the chat. How do you want others to do for you or react to you when you're having a mentally exhausting situation? For example, let's say today was a very difficult day for me. Like today was a very stressful day for me. Today at school, I had so many problems. So many people are just looking for issues to find with me. So if this happened, How do you want others to do for you or react to you? What you want others to do to you? Hi, Santa Kumari. Hi, somebody. Okay, you can type in the chat. What do you hope others will do for you? I see Atika here, or same name with me. Atika there, she wants someone to be a good listener. So she might want to, you know, pour her heart out when she having a mentally exhausting situation. So she wants someone who is a good listener. So Safwan Japan, I just want someone who listens to me instead of suggesting or advising something. I see. Okay. And Daniel, someone who just accompany me at that time. Say nothing. So you might not even listen, but just being there is enough. Right, Daniel? Okay, what about the others? Right. I'm looking for a few more responses in the chat. So if you are having a mentally exhausting situation for today, like I'm so stressed, what do you want other people to do for you? So two people there, three. So Safwan, Atika say, oh, we want someone to just listen. And Safwan specifically say, just listen. Don't give advice. Don't suggest anything. Daniel, oh, you can just be there. Patricia. Okay, let me. Atika, buying me food also works. Yes, that works too. All right. Priska, non-judgmental, quiet listening. Patricia James, be a good listener. That's enough. All right. Sujata, just cooperate with me for the rest of the day. How, Sujata? Santa Kumari, maintain silence. Okay, this is Daniel's friend. Okay. Anyone else beside being a good listener, uh, just stay with me and do nothing or buy food? Anyone else have any other things you specifically want other people to do for you when you are stressed out or mentally exhausted? Anything else, but maybe a little bit different from the other people. No, no. All right. I accept these few variations here. One is being a good listener. Two, just be there for me. For all her discipline. For all. And then three, buy me food. Okay, that works as well. Okay, are you guys ready to start the session for tonight? I want to see some thumbs up. You can use the emoticons, you can use the emoji thumbs up if you're ready. Then I will send you over to our community takeover lead for tonight. All right, good. I see some thumbs up. All right, I see three. I see. Thank you, Safwan. I see you. All right. Thank you, Arif. Great. Right. Without further ado, I would like to invite our community takeover lead for tonight, Yusra Afika from Super Skills for Life, to walk us through to things that we can do as a teacher when we are handling students having psychological crisis. And also, maybe what are the don'ts, things that we shouldn't be doing. All right, Yusra, are you ready?
As ready as I can be.
All right, I will start sharing here and you can take over.
Okay, thank you so much, Atika. Wow, this time I see a lot of people coming in. Thank you very much, everyone. First of all, before I start, let me try sharing my screen first to see if there is the technical error or not. I hope everyone can see my screen now. Good? Okay, great. Before I start, actually, I would like to say many thanks for GTC to invite me to be here. This is actually my second session with Global Teacher Conversation. The first one is 2 weeks ago with around the same topic as well. But since I noticed that this time around we got a lot of new faces, I would like to recap back a bit about me and also about what I have shared before. And first of all, you can see the topic. This topic is chosen by me, discussed with Global Teacher Conversation, which is very close to my heart. Looking back, which is my own personal experience on how it can empower educators through personal experience, reflection, sharing session, changing ideas and perspective. I'm a psychology student, actually, a master student from University Malaysia Sabah. Okay, let us take a little bit look into my current background. I'm in a Toastmasters International NGO from, we have clubs in 148 countries. And in Malaysia, we have more than 100 clubs as well. I'm also a research assistant for a grant from Norway. That's the grant that we talk about, Super Skill for Life. We do research at 25 schools at 3 states. We test an intervention module. We hope we can help students, especially adolescents, to improve themselves. It doesn't have to be something big. Sometimes improving your sleep cycle, your food intake will change a lot. So that's why we are trying to share our experience and a little bit knowledge that we have among adolescents and psychology to help the teachers to give our students a better mental health state. I'm a master student, also a Malaysian delegate for World Health Organization from Model United Nations. So when Model United Nations Malaysia have their conference, I'm the one of them that will be being called to talk for WHO. Why my background is quite lengthy here a bit, not to brag about myself, just to show you that behind all this profile, there's this one, also me. I am a holder of OKU mental card as well. And this is just a few of the articles that they have covered about me. Actually, you can buy my book as well if you found it. Yeah, it talk about how I become OKU mental and how those things actually reflects. I have shared about this in detail from the last session. I won't talk much about this. And just a little bit recap that I feel important to highlight that learning disability is not the same as mental. It is a major difference, and there's things that you need to be aware of that it is not the same. Learning disorder, as most of the teachers might be familiar with, is ADHD, intellectual autism, where the students are being separated into aliran khas, we call it in Malaysia. But disability in mental might look like this. This is where I would like to start focusing on. For your information, I have received my OKU mental disability card back then in just 3 years ago, back then in 2021, which is in my degree days. As you can see, mental disability will manifest in a lot of scary and might be frightening symptoms. But to get an OKU mental card, for your information, we need 2 years of treatment. So it doesn't start in 2021. The symptoms has started way back during my school days. I have my secondary school in 2013 and 2017 in Kedah. I'm actually from Kedah, and that's where the symptom starts actually. I didn't go to school for a year throughout my SPM years and also matriculasi. I skipped the whole matriculasi. I didn't go into class because of the symptoms until at the moment I received the OKU card. So what does the symptoms that I show is, this is the three main things on how you can get OKU mental. First, you have impairment in social function, impairment in cognitive function, and also impairment in behavior. Manifest in a extreme way, actually. When initially it starts with I couldn't sit in class. I was so scared when teachers asked me questions, asked me about my homework. I just will really freak out and don't know what to do. Since then, everything went spiraling down. I believe some teachers here might heard of barcode trend and all of those kind of things. So it manifests in a bad way and it become more severe time after time. For impairment in cognitive function, for information cognitive, it covers focus, memorization, competency in retaining information. Those skills are important in schools. That's what our exam in Malaysia tested on. Memorization, asking question, problem solving, comprehension, it just went off. You can ask me one question and deep down, I know the answer. But because of the nervousness, because of all the symptoms, because of sometimes the teachers doesn't help, it just make it worse. And it leads to behavioral control. So that's sort of things that been happening. Actually, for today, I would like to share most on the do's and the don'ts if teachers encounter students like me who shows these kind of symptoms, because actually, to share personally from my point of view, having OKU mental card is not from birth. If it's from birth, you will got the learning disability card. Means the symptoms manifest as it doesn't being intervened early, especially at schools, because at our age and our system in Malaysia, students are in school since 8 a.m. in the morning, and most of them sometimes will stay until 5 or maybe until 4 or until 3. They spend a lot of days in school rather than at home. Maybe at home when they come back, even their parents come back at 8, they will have only 3 hours per day, and that's when they do their homework. So if teachers can focus on these just 5 do's and 5 don'ts, I believe we can make a difference in our students' life. So that's why this is my main point of sharing today. But I believe me and Atika has prepared an activity, which is a role play. Atika, can you help me to elaborate further on the role play and how we are going to do this?
Sure. Right, so you guys can see on the screen. So that's just a one-liner situation there. So Yusra will play the trouble students that sleep in every class. And any one of you here who would like to volunteer can act as a teacher that come across this so-called trouble students that sleep in every class. So whatever the situation is, you can play it out. You can say like, oh, I'm talking to Yusra as I see her from the class, or this is in the class while Yusra was sleeping. So anyone want to volunteer and try out? Like I told you, there's no right or wrong here, and don't be shy to just try. We will be sharing the pointers later. right? Anyone?
Anyone from the floor, you can, if you see your student in your class keep sleeping, the same student over and over sleeping in
Yeah.
class,
What
what
we
will,
usually say.
yes.
Sorry, we're not trying to say, oh, you're wrong or anything. Anyone want to try? You can just unmute yourself. Or you can tell us in the chat if you want to try. Let's take a little bit of time here, Yusra. Okay. Right. So Atika just mentioned something in the chat. Atika, would you like to maybe just play out how you say this to the students? You can unmute and help us out here. Is that okay? Ah, all right. Santa, Santa Devi. Santa Devi, can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute and share the question? What you're gonna ask the student? So that everyone can hear your students, your questions. Hi, Santa, you there? All right. Maybe they're not sure how to do this. Maybe I can try out. Yusra, is that okay? Yusra, I will play the teacher if that's okay with you.
Yep, sure can.
Right. Yusra, are you okay?
Yes, I'm sleeping in class, so I didn't answer to you.
Yes. Are you okay, Yusra?
I'm tired. I'm just tired. I don't want to go to school.
I see. What did you do last night?
Doing nothing.
Do you know why you were so tired?
Maybe because I'm just so done with this one. Everything that I do is wrong.
What makes you think that?
Because if I wake up, I'm going to be scolded by my family. If I sleep, I will be scolded also. Everything that I do is wrong.
And did you get scolded when you sleep at school?
You are scolding me right now.
I know. I'm just curious. That's why I'm asking you guys, asking you. I wonder if you get scolded in your dreams at school too.
Yep, I think that will end our conversation here, Atika. It will never end with students like this. Thank you very much for
All
volunteering. Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Atika. From just a short scene right now, I believe sometimes teachers have encountered this in classroom where the students will either talk back or they just will stay awake and didn't say anything. First thing first, I acknowledge the effort of the teachers for taking some effort to ask for the students. But first thing first, Atika, we won't do that in the big classroom setting. So we will see those things after this further. I will elaborate on that, on what you did good and what can be improved further based on our slide today. I will go this one by one, why we need to do that, why we shouldn't do that, and what can be a better way to approach if we have seen students, a trouble student in the class. It doesn't have to be a big problem like they steal others or they got into a big fight. Sometimes small symptoms like they suddenly from a good student, suddenly didn't turn in their homework anymore. Those kind of things might lead and might have rooted to a bigger problem. So what can we do as teachers? What can we do as educators? The do's are in green and the don'ts are in red. So let us take a look on this slide. I will just share briefly and more towards my own experience and some facts here on what can teachers change the student's life. We sometimes we can't change the world, but if teachers together, a lot of us play the roles, maybe we can change the world for students. First, as I mentioned just now, first thing first is to check in privately, not to us in front of the class, as they will feel exposed in front of their peers. So what can we do as educators is we catch them during a quiet moment. For example, after class or sometimes when teachers give homework, not homework, works to do in classroom, maybe to write their essay, maybe to finish their calculation, where all the students are focusing on their books and also their thoughts. We can go around to the class, maybe one by one, just picking up what they are writing, either they are doodling or they are really into it, and ask them one on one, showing that we concern. How's everything going for you? So the question that Miss Atika asked just now is a good question. It's a good starter. Just don't do it in front of others. We can check in privately, as sometimes they want to share something, but they feel like their dignity is being challenged, especially teenagers in their transition to young adults. We are talking about high school students where they are very angry at the world. That's what happened, I believe. Teenagers are always in that phase where they're angry, moody, emo, doesn't want to talk. Either they don't want to talk or they talk too much. Those things are the one that we can improve by checking in privately. If there are those kind of people who are shy, they might feel better to talk about it, or at least they will know that you care. So if they feel ready to share, they will find you privately. Never ever us in front of class, because sometimes it can lead to a bigger problem where they start crying. We just ask, how are you? And suddenly they cry in front of the whole class, and it will lead to a bigger problem since the words will be spread out to other class, to even other schools sometimes. So that's one thing. The first thing that we should do is check in privately. So if you guys have any question, if there is any elaboration that doesn't clear enough, you need more example, feel free to put it in the chat box. And next, we move on to the second thing that teachers, educators can do, which is to create a safe place in the classroom where the students feel okay. You know, in schools, there are these teachers that sometimes they are in classroom where there are these certain teachers where all the class will stay silent because they are so scared. Even the teachers pass through the classroom, the whole classroom will go silent. We don't want them to be scared of us. Actually, we want them to feel respected and accepted. So how can educators do this? First is to allow them to take time out. This is very controversial, as sometimes the teachers feel like the students who go to counselor's office is because they want to escape. But in my personal opinion, it is not up to the educators, not up to the teachers to decide is they going to counselor office because they have a real problem or they're just being fussy teenagers. We might never know what is happening in the students' world in their life. So allow them to take time out and they feel safe and respected. And another thing is to add a comfortable area if you have your personal office, maybe a corner where students can go if they feel like they need a break. Just now I mentioned that I didn't go to school for maybe 1 year, 2 years. Matriculation, I never go to class. But since matriculation is fully hostel based, you need to stay in the campus. Actually, I'm still there. I'm not allowed to be in my dorm room. So the place that I go is my counselor office. I didn't talk to him. I didn't do anything. We don't have session. Just I'm there at the corner. There's like a carpet there and a pillow, a cushion if I'm not mistaken actually. Just for me to be there and do my things. I study on my own. It's not because I don't like the teacher. It's because I couldn't be in classroom. So sometimes a corner or a place where they can be is good enough. You don't, if they allow them to come in, if you detect this kind of students, just allow them to be there. Give them a space, even they didn't say anything, they didn't even utter a word, just make them feel a sense of belonging to a place. They know if they got a big problem, something's going on in their mind, they can go to that place and be safe. We sometimes safe doesn't mean safe from others, from something from outside. They need to feel safe from their own mind as well. So that's one thing that can do. Don't trap them in a space they feel like cage. For example, if these students got a problem, you send them to a timeout room. Sometimes schools that have asrama hostel, they do it like this. If the students are making trouble, they send it to other room that they will be trapped in there. So don't do that. Just create a safe space where they can freely go in and out. And the next thing that teachers can do is to provide flexible participation options. This one is sometimes tricky, depends on subject. In the chat box, just now I noticed that they will give questions to the students. It is not a bad way or something that you can't do, but allow them to feel comfortable first. Beside, if you can, don't ask them the questions right away. The first thing before you ask question to the students who are sleeping is, how about you, Atika? Can you answer my question? Ask them first, either they can answer it or not. Sometimes they are not ready, but if you ask their opinion, if you ask them, are you ready to answer my question? If can you answer my question? If they say no, or they just usually shake their head, say to them, I will get back to you when you are ready, or maybe next class, I will ask you. So they will be alert. Don't right away ask them the questions. That's what it means by providing flexible participation. It means you postpone their participation to the other time. For example, group discussion, if they are shy, you can ask them to write on paper to participate and pass it. One thing that I learned during my university days where I'm taking psychology, child and adolescent psychology, discussions doesn't have to be verbally. You can ask them to discuss by putting up their thoughts and start from there. So everyone has the thoughts ready on paper to be discussed. For example, put them in a group, ask them to write on paper, and they can pick up. They will see what odds between the answer, and when, let's say, there's someone who is very shy but has a good idea, you can start from there among the group itself. She or he will feel like she has an idea which is different, which will boost him or her confidence. So start from writing first if the students have trouble speaking. Can also provide a different assignment format with confidence. We don't push. Give them time, postpone, or maybe give them a time to think. Maybe remind them that next week will be your turn to be in group discussion, group presentation. Don't make them do it right away because they will be traumatized. And allowing this might cause them to feel included. So that matters. That's why we provide a flexible. Flexible doesn't mean you need to be lenient. Just it can be next time. It is also considered as lenient, as flexible. And next is my kind of favorite thing to do as educators, teachers, is to give them a non-verbal way to communicate. Non-verbal way means you don't ask them directly, but you put maybe a sticky note or maybe a small message in their book that lately I've seen your marks are dropping down. Feel free to talk to me if you need, or provide a sticky note with encouraging message. You did well, and I hope you can improve yourself on this. If you improve on this, you will be better. Non-verbal option will give students who are anxious or reluctant to speak alternative way to express their feelings, and this will build trust. That's important to make them feel heard. So we have the 4 do's, and the last do's is to check in regularly. We don't want a teacher that one day out of nowhere asks, how are you doing? And then the students tell the teacher they are having this kind of problem. And somehow after that, the teachers remain silent. The students won't go to the teacher again, and they will feel judged. Maybe ask them once a week or every few days, a simple one. Okay ke tu? Ataupun just like, okay with a question mark. How are you? Just consistently. They will, sooner or later, they will follow up. So these are the 5 things that educators, teachers can do to make their students feel heard, to build trust, and to decrease their anxiousness. We don't want them to go to school with a feeling that I will be scolded. The teachers hate me. No one cares about me. We want them to know that we are here. Because in schools, in any education setting, sometimes it's not just about developing their intellectual in terms of thoughts. We also need to help them develop their emotional coping, those kind of things. Or maybe just a simple question, have you get enough sleep? Those kind of things will make them feel like there's someone who notice their existence. They are not alone in this world. It happens all the time, not just in secondary school. In primary school also, they have started to feel it like this, especially with media social. Actually, media social will make people feel more lonely. Sometimes it give a effect like that. So now, before I move on to the don'ts, is there any questions from the floor as for now? So far, so good, or I'm going too fast with the do's?
So far, good.
Good. Thank you, Priska. Okay. So we have a question here, Yusra. If it's okay, then we can take this question first before we move on to the don'ts.
Okay.
Right? So Atika asked, what about if this person or student is
Mhm.
good at communicating online, but actually is an extra introvert in real life?
Mhm.
How do we do then?
Is the same as number 5? Which number 5?
Yes, Atika, which number 5? But maybe we can just think about this in a general situation, right? There are some students who we see, the teachers see, oh, this one doesn't have any problem socializing. This one is like the star of the school, shine everywhere, every competition. This is the go-to, our go-to students, right? Championing the schools here and there. But actually, this students is not really wanting to connect with other people in real life. Has there been any situation where you have come across this, Yusra, or is there any way that we can address this? Or how best can we, you know, support this kind of people or this kind of students? Or even if it's not a student, if it's ourselves, I think some of the people here, because of their work, they have to shine. They have to be like out there. But the truth is, they just don't want to be there.
Okay, that's a good situation you give me, which is the students that excel in a lot of things, the students that the teachers always heard their name, always win all the competitions, the students that the teachers will call out to, or this student, I know her. Okay. The first thing first, there's this acronym for this, which is AVAR. First, A, it stands for acknowledge. Acknowledge the students. For example, let me pick a name here. I pick a name Santa. Santa, you're very active lately, and I heard your recent achievement in public speaking. Congratulations on winning it. You acknowledge first their progress, so you click and they know what you're talking about and why you suddenly approach them. Second, you validate them. You must have worked hard for that. Don't say you have the natural talent, because talent without practice is nothing. So you validate their effort first. You must have worked hard on that. And ask Santa, you okay? How does this makes you feel? Or how does I can support you in this? Usually it's just the start. How does this makes you feel? You acknowledge their recent achievement. You validate their effort, and then you ask, how does this makes you feel? How are you holding on? How are you doing right now? Because this is the situation, a psychological situation where when someone already win, they don't know what's next. They feel a moment of surreal, like, okay, now I have done what I have been working on for so long, and what's next? So you may ask the question, what do you have next in line? What are you going to do next? What do you have in mind for the next competition? Are you preparing for the next one? So you give them a very general question that will spark for them to say, how are you doing? How are you holding up? And then it depends on what they answer. The last, it will go to the R, which is remind them that you don't have to be strong all the time. Or the simplest one, don't forget to rest. that's when we call it top students, the cream of the crop. They usually excel in a lot of things, but they are keep pushing themselves over and over. So I repeat, if there is this situation where the top students or you would like to check in on them because you never see they are doing bad, but who knows what's happening, is AVAR. You acknowledge whatever you want to acknowledge, you acknowledge their achievement, you acknowledge their recent scores, be specific with that. And then validate their effort. Effort matters. And usually effort is the one who are pushing them. So validate and then ask. This one can be general. How are you doing? What's next? And remind them. Don't forget to take a rest. And let's say when you ask them how you are doing and they start talking about some negative thing like tired or doesn't want to do this anymore, the pressure is too much, remind them that it's okay to take a rest and I'm here if you need to talk about it. Just 4 steps, things to do to make these top students feel heard and don't push them. Like these kind of students are usually the one who are pushing themselves hard. I hope that clears your question.
All right. So if you guys have any more question you would like to ask Yusra, feel free to just unmute yourself. Like I said, at any point of time, you say like, hey, I have a question. You can also unmute yourself now and ask question to Yusra before we start, if you have any. Or if you cannot think of any question right now, but suddenly when we start again, oh, I have this question, then you can just drop your question in the chat box. That works with us too. Then we will be picking up your questions later during the Q&A session before we start our conversation after that. All right. Okay, Yusra, you want to start with the don'ts next?
Okay, let's take a look at the don'ts. This might be the same point, but I would like to emphasize on this once again that don't discuss in front of class. Don't embarrass them. It will lead for the peers to tease them because in schools, usually and sometimes, there are this group of popular kids, the bully kids, the nerd kids, the prefect kid, those group of students, and we can't deny there will be a group of students who like to bully the nerd one. And if you ask them in front of class, it will lead to that opportunity even more. And how can it be done better is to check in privately as mentioned in the do's before this. I won't discuss this much more because I think I have emphasized on this a lot of times already. Next is don't compare them to peers. Sometimes we do this accidentally. We ask them to refer to other students' homework. It will make them feel more vulnerable, especially for those who are already struggling. You can actually check on them first, like don't compare them to others, compare them to their past self, and maybe compare them to their future self. For example, if you compare them from their past self, usually you excel on this vocabulary part. And why out of sudden I noticed that this part you keep going down, keep making mistakes that you didn't do before. Is there anything bothering you? Is there anything that I can support? So compare them to the past self and compare them to their future self. You can choose either or do both. For example, future self, I see you in maybe 2 years from now, you'll be an excellent writer. You just need to improve on this, on or that. So you give them something they can look forward to, that that will encourage them to do better. You need to be specific on that. Or maybe, for example, if they are in secondary school, I think you will be an excellent student if you take medic. But I would like to personally suggest you to focus on this subject more. So that's how we can encourage them, by comparing them to their future self, not to their friends. So that's another thing that don't do. Don't compare them to peers. Don't force participation is actually quite the same as the flexible participation just now. And how it can be done better, we can also ask the students for volunteer first, because forcing them actually will just break them more. Adolescents are in the phase of transition where they are discovering who they are, what they want to be, what they want to do, what personality they want to choose. Just give them time to discover it. If you force, sometimes they will mature early, but the maturity will stuck there. Who wants a 13 years old with 30 years old mind? Actually, we got that cases where, because he is being pushed over and over. So at 13 years old, he has this thinking of 30 years old. But when she goes to the age of 35, the maturity will stay at 30, because that's what he has been through his whole life. He won't grow anymore. So if you force, that kind of things will show the bad effect in years to come. So let them have their own time to explore. Next don'ts is never ever ignore them. Sometimes when we see the students struggling, there are teachers who will just, I don't see that students, I don't care what's happening, like I will just ignore. I don't know what's his problem. She doesn't want to share with me. It is not my problem. I'm not the counselor. I'm not even the classroom teacher. So I will just let it be. If you do that, then who are the one who will be guiding the student? If we let them discover on their own, they are 15 years old. We are, let's say, 40 years old. Try to put yourself in the student situation where they are already lost. They are already miserable, struggling. And then you just ignore them. Wouldn't that make it worse? So just check on them verbally, non-verbal, give a sticky notes, ask them a simple question, because all of us want to feel heard and all of us want to feel seen. So treat them as a human being with emotions. Sometimes their emotions are big, but they don't know how to handle it. So don't ignore, offer them support, show that you are there for them. Last but not least is simple. Don't label or assume. If you put a label, let's say the students we put a name, Sarah. Sarah is basically lazy, so nothing we can do. She's lazy. If you put that label on her forehead, you see this student is already a troublemaker, you will see that you will just reinforce that negative identities onto them. You will limit their potential. This student is just bad in mathematics. She won't score. Do you think she will put an effort to prove to you? They are in a very miserable state already, and by saying that they are just lazy, just stupid, it won't help. It will just make them, I feel like, no matter how hard I try, I'm still a troublemaker. I'm still bad at mathematics. So why should I put effort to do it? So that's the 5 don'ts that I would like to share for today. Actually, it's a simple thing, but don't try to practice this 5 plus 5, and in long run I believe it will benefit not just your students, but it will open a new perspective for educators to understand the students from their point of view. So I think that's the only 5 plus 5 that I would like to share for today, Atika. Before we move on to break session, I believe we have Q&A first.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Yusra. Maybe let's just take maybe 1 minute
Mm-hmm.
for everyone to just digest all this information for a bit. I know this for some people could be so heavy of an information to handle. Maybe we can go back to this one. Thank you. You read my mind, Yusra. Let's take 1 minute, everyone, to just go through and just digest all this information. Maybe also reflect on what have we been doing when we are responding to our students, or maybe our own children, or maybe like the people around us, friends, families, partners, or even to ourselves. Are we doing the do's or are we doing the don'ts? Let's take 1 quiet minute to think before we move on to the next activity. All right. Okay. So we would like to hear if any of you have any questions to Yusra. Um, these are the do's and don'ts that also reflecting her own experience when she was a student herself, back then when she was in school. So this fall back on pretty much a practical approach to how we are dealing with situations like this. Right. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask Yusra right away. We'd love to hear voices and would love to hear your questions. You can just unmute and ask questions. If you are unable to unmute yourself, if you're shy or you have a sore throat, maybe you can also type your questions in the chat. Don't worry. Let's see some questions. Just ask away. Don't be shy to ask this question. Don't go off from the session tonight thinking, I should have asked. Let's not leave room for regret. Okay. I do want to address a question that is not about the session though. So Sujata asked, is there a slide sharing? We don't share our slides, but you can refer to the session through the recording. We will be uploading the recording into our Global Teacher Conversation Facebook page later when we upload the session. No, no question. All right. I have a question, Yusra.
Yes.
I know that this is a timely opportunity that you come in and tell us educators the do's and don'ts when dealing with students with psychological crisis at the moment. But what if we did not meet you? What? So we never heard about what to do when dealing with students who burst out or anything. Then who can we actually reach out to if we want to learn more about dealing with people who have emotional psychological crisis?
Thank you for the question. First thing first, I think that's the most basic answer that teachers always heard, even in their meeting in schools. Counselor. School counselor will be the best number one approach. Just tell them there's a student you would like to refer and can you set an appointment with this student. Actually, the counselor will approach that students and will do what we call screening, the most basic screening, either is PQD 12 or DAS 21. They will do the screening and they know where to start from there. And if we would like to take it on further, if the counselor think there's a need to refer, they will refer it to psychiatrists or psychologists outside the schools, usually in klinik kesihatan or in nearby hospital. So that's one thing that we can do is counselor. Second thing, not to do is to approach the parents directly. Sometimes the teachers might know the parent, especially nowadays we have WhatsApp group. Don't PM the parents because we don't want to be pesky. We don't know what the students are facing through at their home. So don't ask the parents right away. And the third thing is what can be done is to ask the student themselves. Go back to the do's and don'ts. We want to help, but we cannot do things that we can't do. We don't know how to do. Then how can we do? So we refer to others who have experience. And this, I'm not sure either. Usually teachers do this. I have heard about this a lot when I do my research from schools to schools. They will ask another teacher, is this student in your class okay ka? Things like that. Are these students doing okay in your class or these students are facing problem? Let's say both of the teachers, yes, I feel like the students are being off as well. Then refer it to the administration or at the school counselors again. Don't try to be the counselor. As to be a counselor, you need to be referred to. And talking about non-verbal communication, you can also put a lesson in classroom. For example, I would like to share when you do the teachings and so on, just out of sudden, maybe turn to them and look at the student or the students. I would like to share something that I learned from a recent workshop, let's say. I have found this hotline helpful, 18555, which is the Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat hotline number. So I just feel I would like to share this number if any of you need it. Just give a general way for them to figure it out on their own. Maybe you can share with them that you have heard a portal where the students can go to meet the counselor. Maybe it will make them feel, yeah, I can try this. I'm having a problem. So that's the 3 things that I can suggest on. First, to refer to the counselor. Second, not to call the parents. And third is to give a general remarks in classroom. What can they do to call this hotline number, or to, I heard that there's a workshop. Just give them a general info. If they think they need more info, they will ask you, or they can Google it themselves. So hope it answers your question.
All right. Thank you, Yusra. That was awesome. All right. We will be moving on to our next portion of the session for tonight, which is the conversation part. I will be sending you guys off to the breakout room to talk with each other. Now, what do we talk about? Let me share. All right. So we are going to be reflecting on what we have learned from what Yusra have been sharing tonight. And you ought to prepare what you're going to talk with each other based on these 3 prompts. And number 1, describe one situation where you were facing the psychological crisis of other people in the past. Where you are facing that, you are the witness, or where you've seen something, or you are responding to that. You were responding to that. So describe one situation where you were facing a psychological crisis of other people in the past. It could be your students, it could be your partner, it could be your friends, it could be your family members, right? Number 2, share. What will you be doing differently if the same situation occurred now? Right? So you have described the situation where you either involve or witness a psychological crisis of other people, what you have done in the past, and then number 2, share what will you be doing differently if the same situation occur right now or in the future. And then 3, how do you plan to use your learnings tonight in this session into your life? How do you plan to use your learnings in this session into your life? Now, we will give you 2 minutes to just prepare. Some people need time, because English is not common for their everyday language. We understand that. Some people might need some time to think about a situation in the past. So let's take 2 minutes to just reflect and think back based on point 1, 2, and 3, and then I will be sending you guys into the breakout room. All right. 2 minutes have ended. I will send you guys to your breakout rooms, get to know one another, and then talk about the 3 points that we have shared with you earlier. The breakout room will open for 15 minutes, and after 15 minutes ended, we will see you guys back in this main room here. All right, see you guys in 15 minutes.